Hey, everybody. It looks like you guys are listening to Grease, and I'm sorry to interrupt that. I love that you're doing that. And my little, I don't know, 8-year-old self really loves that you're listening to Grease right now. So hi, I'm Molly. If you don't know me, I'm the owner of Table Wine in Madison. And tonight we're going to talk about Greek wines. I teach classes about lots of things. I teach classes about things that I hold very near and dear to my heart and things that maybe aren't my personal favorites. And I like to think that I do an equally good job, regardless of my personal tastes. But I have to say that Greek wines hold a very, very special place in my heart and in my history as a wine professional. So I'm ecstatic to teach this class tonight. It came as a suggestion from somebody who's, I believe, is watching tonight. Actually, I think a few of you said this kind of early on as a suggestion of a place that you'd like to travel virtually while we're doing these online classes. And I thought about it, and one of the reasons that I've never taught a Greek class in person at the shop is because in those classes, I almost always teach 6 wines. I like to give that amount of breadth. I think it's a good way to have fun and have some drinks while not taking you over the edge of, like, you know, not being able to drive home. But also like really teach you something kind of broadly. And with the virtual classes, for lots of different reasons, we've scaled it back to a trio of wines, which seems to be working really well. I hear that from so many of you. So I think that this model really works. And for Greece, it really works because there's not that much Greek wine on the market. So the primary reason I've never taught this class in person before, or never taught this class before, is because I've thought, there aren't 6 different wines from 6 different wineries in different parts of Greece that would make it interesting. So when I scaled it down to 3, I was like, hey, I can do Greece. So yay, jazz hands. If you haven't joined us for one before, or just as a refresher, if you don't already have the wines out, get them out. Get your white wines warming up a little bit so that they're not ice cold. We use the chat feature, which some of you have already discovered. So please chat away. Tonight I do have a poll. It looks like a lot of you jumped on that. And I'm really happy to see the encouragement that you'll keep on coming to virtual classes this summer. I know it's challenging as the weather is just so beautiful here in Madison to come inside, but I appreciate it. And it's just an hour, and now you're gonna have lots of really fun, perfect summer wines open at your house after this. So yay for that. Yeah, so ask questions as we go along. Most of you, if you shopped with us, everybody who shopped with us was able to get the same second white. Almost all of you have the first white. Some of you had to get a substitution, and there were a couple subs on the red as well. So I'll just make a brief nod to that red substitution when we get there. But for the most part, we're all on the same page. Okay, so one thing I guess that I should explain as to why is Greek wine so near and dear to my heart. Years ago now, I feel, but it was years ago. It was 2007. My husband had just graduated from law school, and he and I moved to Washington, D.C. I swore that I was done with restaurant life and that I would never work in a restaurant. And then, I don't know if you all remember what 2007 was like, but the economy was pretty bad. And it was the end of the George W. Bush administration. So there weren't a lot of government jobs at that time. They just don't hire at the end of different administrations. So my grand plan fell flat, and I had to go back to my good old restaurant days. And what ended up happening was the second most transformative job I've ever had. I would say being the owner of Table Wine is the most transformative, but it was by far at that point the most remarkable thing that ever happened. I was hired at a restaurant called Comey in Washington, D.C., which is a fine dining kind of tasting menu format. I was hired as a server, moved up to run the front of the house eventually, and work on the wine program there. And it's Greek based. And so I went from never having heard of any of the grapes that we're talking about tonight to feeling really well versed in them. As I was prepping tonight, I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. This is like what I did for 3 years. So you're taking me back to my 30s. Even my late 20s. It's so exciting. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen, so bear with me just a hot second while I get that up. For those of you who are used to in-class classes, sorry, pardon me, you're used to the handouts, and we don't do handouts, but we do have slides. We have some information for you. So give me a second. I'll make that big. I'll make myself small. And we'll dive in and talk about the wine, the history of wine ever so briefly, and then we'll get to the fun drinking part. So some information for you guys here about the fundamentals of Greek wine, how it's categorized. I have this information here mostly just as kind of a high-level overview so you all understand. When the EU was created, the Greek wine industry had to start categorizing wines based on the places that they come from, as they are categorized in the rest of Europe. So, you know, in Italy, it's a DOC, DOCG model. In France, it's the AOC model. Here in Greece, it's the OPE or OPAP model. The Greek words are there for you. I'm not even going to take a stab at that one. I think the things worth noting about OPE and OPAP are that OPE is set aside, designated just for sweet wines. They take their sweet wine, their dessert wine very seriously in Greece. So OPE is just for sweet wines. OPAP are for dry wines, and there are about 20 of those, almost an even split between white and red with one rosé in the middle. And then there are the more general tiers of TO, which is regional wine, and EO, which is literally table wine. The TOs, if you're drinking along with the wines that we have at the shop, everything we're drinking tonight falls into that TO category. It's not super common here in Wisconsin to find OPAP wines. You can find some from time to time, but it's not really all that common. People want kind of the less expensive, more introductory level Greek wines from just here in the market. That's just what that is. So one thing that I think is worth mentioning, if you have the wines, if you're looking at the bottles, it's really quite confusing, I think, because the Greeks don't have it has to say TO on it. It can say, so like on the Cigales, it says protected designation of origin, right? And then on the Scoris, it says protected geographical indication. Those are the same thing. Those terms mean the same thing. And I find that confusing. So I thought I'd just mention that's all that kind of TO level. So if you kind of see any of those protected geographical, protected region, that kind of stuff, that's that level. Greece is divided into 4 different wine regions, and I have a lovely map for you guys. Oh, sorry. There we go. So it's northern Greece, central Greece, southern down here, which is the Peloponnese and the Aegean Islands. Northern Greece is very continental in its climate and terrain. Central Greece is, not surprisingly, pretty Mediterranean. Peloponnese varies. It's a little more, Central Greece can kind of have cooler spots as you get further inland and warmer spots as you get further out. The Peloponnese is kind of all like, I said that it varies, I misspoke. The Peloponnese is where it's a little bit more constant Mediterranean. And then the Aegean Islands here are all like, you know, super arid, dry islands. I'm curious if any of you, has anybody traveled to Greece? I Sadly have not, but tonight we're traveling to Greece. So the varietals is how we're gonna go. Athens and Santorini, right? Santorini, I think, is like what everybody thinks of. It's on my list too, guys. Yes, Santorini. So the varietals, there are about 40 indigenous varietals grown in Greece, and then they grow a bunch of international varietals: Merlot, Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, all sorts of things. Linda, your dad has been to Greece? I love this. This is like the multi-generational drinking. I love this. That's so amazing. That's so great. So the grapes are listed there. These are kind of like the main ones to know. Tonight we're going to taste Assyrtiko, Muscafilero, and Ayuritico, although I do believe some of you might have a Xinomavro. So we're going to taste, you know, a number of the kind of the big ones. The one thing that I usually include in in-person classes that I'm not often able to include in the virtual classes by dint of time is a kind of a more thorough wine history. So I just want to give you a brief wine history of Greece because I find it pretty fascinating. Greece is where wine culture really originated. And we're talking, you know, 4,000 years ago. It's where, it's not necessarily where all of the wine grapes originated. Some of those were further east and came westward, but it is where it is where the heart of wine culture started. And so one would think that it should have like the richest wine history. But if you've studied history at all, the Byzantine Empire fought over Greece and Greek lands for centuries. And so it just meant that trade, the focus on the wine trade just didn't happen. And then to kind of cap it all off, they still were kind of making wine. Muscat in particular, sweet dessert muscat, was really important to them. And then Greece was conquered by the Muslims for a few centuries. And so there was no alcohol permitted. The vines, for the most part, were ripped out. Wine was not allowed at all. So when you think about Greece in comparison to Italy and France, one would think, why doesn't Greek have as rich a history? But it's because of that rule. The religion really played a huge role there. Whereas in France and Italy, the Catholics, you know, they like their wine. So that's why that kind of took off there and didn't take off in Greece. Greece really, really struggled through, you know, till modern times. They started to regain their footing a little bit with wine in the 19th century and into the 20th century. And it's an interesting thing. There's phylloxera is this little bug that really wiped out all of wine throughout Europe. And phylloxera didn't hit Greece right away. So there was an attraction to Greek wines while it was decimating Spain and Italy and France. And then phylloxera came even later in the 20th century than it did everywhere else in Europe. So kind of like as they thought maybe we're going to get away with it here, they didn't. And that was all surrounding the world wars. So the Greek economy struggles. It continues to struggle to this day. Wine started to make a bit of a comeback in the 1960s, but it really was only in the 1980s that it started to sell at all. For the younger folks watching, there's a Greek wine called Retsina that is a holdover from the Middle Ages. Retsina is a white wine that back in the Middle Ages, when they were putting it in casks, they would close it with this pine tar resin, Retsina, and it seeped into the wine and it gave it this piney flavor, almost into the nail polish kind of flavor. Bad Retsina is all that people knew about Greek wine for a really long time. So if anybody's not so young in the crowd, maybe you remember Retsina, maybe you've even had Retsina. It's really not good. It's not good. It's not like, ooh, juniper and gin, that kind of flavor profile. It's like you bit into a pine needle. It's not delicious. And so that's kind of like all anybody knew about Greek wines. So this handful of wineries that we're tasting tonight and a few others have been, trying to put Greek wine on the map, but just within the last few decades. So if you don't know a ton about Greek wine, you're not alone, because there's not a ton of it out there, and there's not a ton of it to explore. So let's explore, guys. Questions before I kind of move on? All right. So as promised, we're going to start with Assyrtiko. If you want, you should pour yourself some. So Assyrtiko, the wine that you're drinking tonight is a blend of Assyrtiko and a grape called Athiri. Not to say that Athiri doesn't add something to this wine, because it definitely does, and we can talk about that as you're tasting, but I do think that the predominant flavors are all kind of Assyrtiko. So if you don't know this wine, here's what you want to know. It is light to medium in body with very high acidity. Very, very high. If you have snacks right now, if you have food around, now would be a really good time. If you have hummus or feta or anything like that, get your food ready, because this is a zippy one. The most common flavors are lots of minerality, like flint, like two stones being struck against each other to try to light a fire, that kind of smell or taste. Salt. Citrus is like the big fruit flavor, particularly lemon. Assyrtiko is grown throughout Greece, as far north as, the northern border and all the way south, but it really is in the Aegean Islands, particularly Santorini. So for those of you who have been there, this is the wine of Santorini. So I have some food pairing ideas listed there. I can say that if you don't have a shellfish allergy or some compelling reason not to eat shellfish, you should always drink this wine with shellfish, because it's so absolutely delicious. So take a sip. Let me know what you're thinking as you're tasting. I'm going to show you. Look, there's Cigales. So this is the winery. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it so pretty? For those of you who've been to Santorini, I hope it tugs at your heartstrings. For the rest of us, we can all just imagine that we're there. I learned today that the tap water on Santorini is so salty that because it's coming out straight from the sea, and it is desalinated, but you really can't drink the tap water in Santorini because of how salty it is. And they have water shipped from the mainland, which I found fascinating, that they're surrounded by water and still need to get water shipped in. So salt. I'm not telling you have to taste salt, but if you taste salt, that's a totally fair game. A honey flavor and aroma. I feel that, Caitlin, and I think that would be that Athiri. So Athiri on its own, well, it's not really, you don't often see Athiri on its own. So it does have a little bit of like honey and floral notes to it. You're getting a little sweetness from the Zacharias. That's surprising to me. But hey, if you're tasting it, you're tasting it. I can't tell you you're not. To me, the smell is just like super rocky. I just smell rocks. Melon sweet, not RS sweet. Totally. Yep. I think that's great. I'm glad that it's great with Bunky's hummus, right? It's like so good. I made myself a bunch of tzatziki and dill and stuff for dinner. I can't wait. What is RS? Okay. Oh, look at everybody supporting Bunkies. That's so great. I love it. To answer Mackenzie's question, what is RS sweet, Molly? RS refers to residual sugar. It is a scale of how sweet wines are. So when Karina was saying that it's not RS sweet, she's saying that it's not sweet in like an actual, I could measure the amount of sugar in the wine kind of sweet. It's sweet like, ooh, that tastes like melon kind of sweet. So I think I'm speaking for Karina, but that is what residual sugar, or that's what RS means. I don't know if any of you ever listened to this podcast, but, and I think I've mentioned it in previous classes. I was on this podcast 2 summers ago now, called Wine Wars. And I really love them. And we've done a couple episodes. I've done a couple episodes with them. But the very first time I was on, they have this fabulous format when they have guests on, and they ask you to bring 3 wines that tell your wine story, that like tell your story as a wine professional. And this was the wine, one of the 3 wines that I brought. So we had them with dinner, and then we talked about them on the podcast. So you can check that out if you have, free time. Need a podcast to listen to. But I talk about this, and I talk about my history at that restaurant in DC, and how for me, I did not know that I loved minerality in wine, and I didn't know that I necessarily liked high acid wines. Like I was kind of around that world, but I hadn't really pinpointed my particular personal taste in wine quite yet. And then when I started tasting this wine, and then they have 100% Assyrtiko from Cigales as well. When I tasted those 2 wines, that was like a moment for me. For those of you who have joined me for Spanish whites class, or just know Chacalí or Chacalina, the wine from the Basque region of Spain, they're, in my mind, they go very closely together. They're kind of related to one another. They're both places that are super close to the sea. They're these indigenous varietals that are just like zippy acid and lots of minerality. So Muscadet too, totally. Yep, totally reminds you of Muscadet. Spot on. How are people feeling? What do people think of it? I'm curious. Yum. Yay. Yay. Love it. Great. I've been told, oh, good. Yay. I'm glad you love it. I've been told by people that it can be a little too acidic for them, like that it's too much. Okay, I'll take that. I think that, yeah, like you guys are all, you're eating, right? You're having hummus and you're having feta and you're having olives, and like, that's how you do that. That's what this kind of wine is meant for. If you like it on its own, as I do, you can drink it on your porch without anything. But if you're like, I'm not so sure about this one, have it with some food. You appreciate the texture? Awesome. Ellen's saying that it feels as acidic, but not as tart as the Chacalina. I would totally agree with you. And again, that's that 25% of the Athiri blended in. Athiri is a little bit lower in acid and kind of brings different fruit flavors to it. So it's not quite as laser-like as the Chacalina. When I poured this on that podcast, I feel like you all need to go listen to it, because they were just like, what the hell is this? Like, they were just like, I think that they were expecting, I don't know what they were expecting. I know them really well and they have great taste in wine, but I think that they were, I don't think that they were expecting me to show up with a wine from Santorini. The name of the podcast is Wine Wars. Yeah. So if any of you are sitting out there quietly thinking to yourself, what the hell is this? let's just go back for a moment and look at the beautiful picture of Santorini and how close they are to the ocean, right? Like they are right there. If you went and visited, you'd be sitting on the other side of this building on their deck overlooking the ocean, the sea, I should say. And you would definitely be eating seafood of some kind. So yay, tart and bright. Yay. I will say, I mean, you guys have all tasted it. So the people that I have found who really enjoy being kind of turned on to Assyrtiko, if you're wondering, like, what do I do with this? You know, you have Greek night or Mediterranean night, and you get, you know, like that kind of cuisine. People who like really dry, not kind of the fruitier side of Sauv Blanc, the kind of crisper, more mineral driven Sauv Blanc people tend to really like this wine. Obviously, this is not the wine for your oaky Chardonnay lover, unless they also like are open to other things. But like, if somebody tells you all I've ever had is butter Chardonnay, please don't get this for them. I hope that goes without saying. Yay. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay. I guess before we leave it, I picked the wines that I picked based a lot on the specific wineries. Like I mentioned, Cigales, it was this particular wine that kind of made me fall in love with Greek wine. Cigales is worth seeking out. If you ever come across their wine, a wine from them on a glass list, or probably not a glass list, but a wine list at a restaurant in the future, I would say, you know, try them out. The other thing to note about Assyrtiko before we leave it is that this is aged in stainless steel. There are Assyrtikos that are aged in oak, and they do tend to, Carrie was talking about the texture. They get even kind of weightier texture on them, and they can have like a slightly different flavor profile. They get a little bit more nutty and those kind of things. So that's just really a heads up. And that's also like, we in Madison don't have a huge array of Greek wines available, nor are you going to go places and see, you know, them on lists everywhere. But if you're out sometime ever in the future and you see it, maybe you'll remember this moment in time. All right, are we good, leave-in? Okay. All right, so we are, let me bring that up. We're gonna move to the next white, which is Mascafilero. From a alcohol percentage standpoint and a body standpoint, this is actually lighter than the Assyrtiko, but we're having it second for a couple of reasons. So things to know about Mascafilero, it is kind of on that medium light bodied side of things. Acidity is a little lower here, but still pretty high. It's kind of in that medium high range. And Mascafileros tend to be off dry. The aromas on Mascafilero are intense. They're super, super intense. Notably floral aromas. Honeysuckle is kind of the big one. When it comes to aromas, I came across something today that suggested that if you like Moscato d'Asti, you might like Mascafilero. I have not really, I don't know. I don't really necessarily like that comparison, because I think when people like Moscato, they like Moscato for the sweetness, not for the floral aspect of it. But if you just like floral wines, welcome to Mascafilero, yay. Other flavors and aromas you can expect are kind of stone fruit, lots of peach, apricot, some citrus. You know, if you threw out like melon or passion fruit, that's also fair game. I didn't list it there because, you know, the list started to get too long. Nuts are another thing that comes up. We are now in the Peloponnese. So this is primarily grown in central Greece rather than the island. And Mascafilero likes things that it can kind of counterbalance. So this is what I'll be having with my tzatziki later. It's great brunch wine, lots with cream cheese and capers, or fresh fruit of really any kind. So, you know, a fruit salad before dinner, or if you're having maybe like fish with fruit, a fruit salsa or something like that, I'd go with that. But I don't taste it and see. It's pretty light. It's pretty delicate. So I wouldn't say like have, you know, pork chops and peach chutney or something like that. I think it would get lost. I'm so glad you like the smell. I love the smell. You want this as a candle? So my joke is that I, having worked in restaurants and wine for so long, I don't wear perfume because if I wear perfume, then I can't smell wine. And anytime I smell Muscafilero, I'm like, oh, but if I could wear perfume, this is what it would smell like. So light and refreshing, perfect for a hot day. Yeah, it smells like rose water. Yeah. It is so perfect for a hot day. It's just porch wine. I mean, it is just like summer wine. I agree with all of you that you're saying like, it's just great for a hot day, right? I don't think that you need food with it. I did give you some ideas there, just like, so that you're not lost in the woods with that. Here is Scorus. Here's the winery so that you can see it. I mentioned earlier kind of the different climates. So on Santorini, as we saw, like, you know, very low terrain, right next to the sea, and kind of dominated by the sea. That's kind of like what makes Santorini wines so special. Here in this part of the Peloponnese, actually, sorry, I'll go back to that for a second so you can see it better. It's mountainous. This is kind of like in, they're kind of like eastern, southeastern, part of the Peloponnese. So, you know, still drier, not arid, but not quite, you know, totally verdant, as you can see. So, I don't love PowerPoints and keynote presentations for various reasons, because it reminds me of my days at Epic, but I do like being able to share pictures with you guys. It's pretty great. I thought, oh, Mari thinks she didn't like florals before these wines, but here we are. Yay! I'm so glad. I think that's the thing that I find really special about Muscafilero. It is definitely intense on the aroma. There's no getting around that. But then on the palate, it doesn't have that, I don't know, musty, perfumey, you know, like old lady attic kind of taste. Although Carrie's saying it tastes a little soapy on the tail end. Okay, I mean, that's totally fair. I'm not going to tell you that it doesn't to you. So Ellen's asking if she wanted to describe this. What would you say? This definitely has, from a texture standpoint, it's not like super, super significantly different. I mean, I think the biggest difference is that this would be light bodied versus medium bodied. So if that's the question, the texture thing, I would say go with saying that you like a light body wine. Yeah. Heather's asking for food pairing recs. Yeah, Heather, I mentioned them, but I can go back to, let me bring that screen back. It still is going to work really beautifully with any Greek cuisine, not that surprisingly, but I would say a little less like feta and olives and a little bit more like cucumbers, things that are a little bit more thyme or oregano herbs than dill herbs. No, all of that above. Sorry, my mind just went, no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. I understand you have a 2-year-old and you're trying to take a class at the same time. Sorry, all of the herbs, the oregano, the thyme, and the dill would be really beautiful with this. So that info is there for you. No worries. Ellen, did I answer your question or did I totally skirt the answer? I think I got there with the fact that I would say go talk about light body. And I think the other thing that Heather did hit on, I don't know if this kind of ties into what you were saying, but the fact that the flavor doesn't like linger, and that's kind of like what I was talking about, where it has a bit of a crisper finish, right? Okay, awesome, great. I'm glad that we're there. The fact that the finish is a little bit crisper, it doesn't linger as long, is something worth knowing about yourself, that you kind of like, that you gravitate towards those wines, and you can just kind of start to figure out like those grapes. So yeah. It is bright on the tongue, isn't it? Like, it's just like, ooh, yay. The reason that I poured this second, even though it is lighter in body, is because of the aromatics. I didn't want to ask you guys to rinse your glass and everything. So that's why, just a heads up, that your glass, like the red wine is going to tamp it down and you're not going to necessarily get the florals still. But if we had poured the Assyrtiko on top of the Moscafilero, it just wouldn't have worked. And if you don't know me, I'm very against rinsing with water, so don't do that either. You're the only ones with 6 glasses out. Hey girl, I don't know what people are doing. You might, I don't know. Does everybody use one glass? I use one glass. I guess that's just a basis. I'm just basing that on myself. Does Moscafilero usually have all these lighter floral qualities? Yep. Nope. Caitlin, this is really pretty textbook good Moscafilero. So the biggest thing that I will say about seeking out good Greek wines is buying from somebody that you trust. You know, if you know that a restaurant has a good wine list and they have it on there, then feel okay. But like, don't necessarily go to the grocery store and see a really cheap Moscafilero and think like, hey, that's a bargain. Like, or I remember that one that I liked in Greek class, I'll just get this one. Because what happens when it's not so well made is that acidity goes down. And so it's this kind of light-bodied floral wine that then nothing happens on the palate. And it's just kind of like meh. And not like, I could drink all day. It's like meh, like why bother drinking kind of meh. So again, I think I said this, like I picked these wines because of these specific wineries. So I think that Scorus does an amazing job of showcasing Greek varietals. I think that they are just like at the forefront of what they're doing. So yeah, that's like a shout out to that. Why not rinse with water, Carrie? Oh, okay. So for those of you who've taken a lot of classes with me here you go. When you rinse with water, you change the pH of anything that you pour on top of it. Pouring water, even the little bit of remnant of water that's left in the glass, when you pour wine on top of it, you are literally watering it down. You're going to kill the aroma, and the wine is not going to end up tasting all that good. So don't rinse with water. Wine on top of wine. Just keep going. Yeah, so yay. The normal pH of wine, yeah, it's all acidic, Mike. It varies what the total acidity level is. And the pH of wine obviously is going to vary depending on how acidic the wine is. But yeah, it all kind of falls into acidic category. Oh, thanks. That's really sweet. Karina's asking if we have access to other Scorus wines. At times we do. They have a higher level red that is just a knockout stunner. And Carrie's kind of a knockout stunner price. Due to tariffs, trade issues, pandemic, the collapsing Greek economy, think I've covered all of the things that are at play in that situation. The supply of Greek wine is pretty low right now. So there's not a lot of Greek wine. We actually like sold through we sold through all of the Cigalis that our distributor had. They didn't have any of just the single Sirchico. And we sold through everything. I ordered everything that I could. There is more of this, but I don't know if there are more of their reds or anything else from them, but I can always check. So let me know, shoot me an email and let me know if you want me to check on that for you. Okay, are we good to leave Moscafilero? I'm so glad that you guys liked it. I've picked a Moscafilero for Wine Club in the past. It wasn't this one. It was actually from the winery of our red. I picked their Moscafilero. And I was a little scared to do it because I was like, does everybody like Moscafilero as much as I do? But I'm glad to see that at least some of you are, and the rest of you are quiet. I'm just kidding. All right, let's move to red. So if we were having more than 3 wines, we would definitely be tasting a red grape called Xinomavro, which is very important in Greek wine culture right now. Xinomavro comes from northern Greece, so the kind of like the close to the northern border, and it is most similar to Nebbiolo, which is the grape of Barolo, if you've ever had that wine. I had to make a call as to which one we were going to do and which one we weren't going to do, and Ayuritico definitely fits the everyday drinking table wine ethos a little bit more than Xinomavro prices. So almost everybody has the Ayuritico. I know that at least a couple of folks had to get a substitution. What you all are drinking, those of you who have a substitution, is a red blend that is our wine club pick this month. So I really do love it. I really do stand by it. I sent it home with dozens and dozens of people, so please don't feel shorted. It is a blend of Syrah, Merlot, and Xinomavro. So it is different, but I wanted you to have a Greek wine and get to experience Greek wine. So if you are watching along with us and you're one of those people, it's lovely. We have notes on our website if you're curious about it, and I'm happy to answer questions via email if that comes up. For the rest of us, we are drinking Ayuritico. So it is a medium to full-bodied red, with medium acidity and kind of medium high tannins. So medium, it's kind of medium. The most common fruit flavors are a lot of different fruits, purple, black, sometimes even red fruit can get thrown in there. I would say it kind of lives in black fruit land primarily. Spice, like particularly like cinnamon or nutmeg, baking spices, those are things that get bandied about with Ayuritico a lot. It is grown throughout Greece. It is the most widely planted red grape, but the most notable region is Nemea, which is in the Peloponnese. So we are sticking to the Peloponnese. From a food parent standpoint, any roasted meat of any kind. If you're gyro people, have some gyros, roast some lamb with some za'atar or some sumac, or even go like Indian curry. It's just so delicious with all of those things. So pour yourself some. And here's a picture of Yeya, which is how you say the name of the winery. It is named after the Greek goddess. So there it is, super beautiful, but you can see like way greener, right, than where we were earlier. Even though we were still in the Peloponnese, it's a very different kind of region, a lot more mountainous. Cypress trees are growing everywhere. So you get kind of some of those aromatics from time to time in Ayuritico. As an attempt at marketing, some wineries have chosen to call Ayuritico St. George. Ayuritico translates to the grape of St. George. And so some wineries have gone that direction, thinking that it might be easier to sell the wine if Americans know what the grape is or know how to pronounce it. I don't necessarily think one way is right or wrong. I worked for a guy whose parents were from a teeny tiny little island in Greece. He corrected my Greek pronunciation all the time. And, I just learned to say Iuretico. And so I think, we can just call the grapes what they're called, but whatevs. Some funk for sure. I'm smelling some funk. It's definitely some savory. Yum. To answer the question, as to whether or not there was an Iuretico in last year's wine club, yes. So here's a fun story. Last summer, I'm not sure exactly of the month. Last year, not sure of the month. The white for the month was Moscafilero from Yaya. And the red was Iuretico from Scoris. So it's these same two wineries just switched as to which grapes they were. So I know that a lot of wine club people take classes, and so I wanted to make sure that I kept it interesting for you guys, and I try not to repeat. Now let me catch up with what you guys are saying. Figuring out how to describe the aroma. Savory is a really good word for it. Thanks. I'm glad that helps. I think that a little bit of smokiness. Yeah. A little barnyard or hay. I think hay is really good. Hay is not something that people, hay is usually associated with white wine. But I think I haven't spent a lot of time on farms, but it feels like that more to me, because when people say barnyard, it's a nice way of saying manure. So I don't really feel like it goes there. I don't feel like it's like that kind of stinky. But I do think, I think the kind of not fruit flavors or not fruit aromas is what I'm picking up on. And that's kind of what Karina was saying about the funk. I'm really glad you like the taste. I'm really, really glad that you all like the taste so much. That amount of whatever you want to call it, barnyard, smoke, savory, funk, whatever thistle. I love it. It's amazing. Any of that can be super polarizing. As many people love it as hate it. So I'm so glad that you guys like it so much. I think that it's like such a beautiful representation because it does have such nice acidity. That for me, I'm like, ooh, I want like roasted meat of some sort to go with it. Bears with the medicine Windex. I don't know what that means. Are you saying it smells like Windex? Don't say that. That's a negative thing. Don't say that. You like this wine. Sorry. It took me a second. There we go. The lack of a strong fruit aroma flavor is super weird. It is really weird. I agree with Alexis that I do think the cherry kind of does come through. And I think that if you really stop and really think cherry in your mind, you can definitely get there. But I think it's also fair to say, hey man, I'm not picking up on that. Yay. I'm so glad. I agree with Mackenzie that it's a great red to drink in the summer. That's what's so nice about the mediums, right? The medium bodied, some acidity, some tannin, right? It's not like just totally low in tannin, as I'm sitting here having not had a sip for a little while, and I can still kind of taste that or feel that dryness on my tongue. But it's not super weedy. I don't feel like, I don't know, it's making me hot just by drinking it. Skeptical red drinker loves it. Mari, this is like such great feedback. Thank you. I'm so glad that these wines, I don't know, were so clear, so distinct. I think that's can be, it's not always true, but it can be so fascinating when you're drinking grapes that you've never had before, because you just have no expectation. You know what I mean? Like you're not going into it thinking, well, I've had Pinot Grigio before and this is what Pinot Grigio smells like. You're kind of like, I'm just smelling this. What does it smell like? But if you're getting a lot of plum and cherry on this one, great, because that's also a super fair game. I definitely think you could chill this. Tell you about the tannins in this one. See, okay, I love that there's like this even split between fruit people and savory people tonight. So, hey guys, that's what makes the world go round. And there's not one right answer. Both things are at play here. So, there you go. There's that. Tell you about the tannins. So for me, when I drink it, kind of as I'm swallowing, my tongue kind of reaches up to the roof of my mouth and is a little stuck. And there's just like a little bit of dryness. I feel like as I drink it more, it's getting there. The tannins are starting to open up a little bit more. The first sip or two, I thought it was on the lower end. And now I feel like it's starting to feel its own. So this would be a wine that, you can, I think it's awesome to see this, right? Because then you can like drink it over the course of the night and kind of see how it changes. Molly's getting a little metallic in the finish. Oh, Michael's getting a little metallic in the finish. Okay, sorry. I think that's fair game. I think when things have that kind of like smoky, savory quality to them, people can kind of pick up on iron, those kind of metallic, almost copper, like those kinds of flavors too. So if you're particularly sensitive to it or, in tune with it, I think that you could definitely get there. I was talking about bad Muscafilero, and I will say the same for cheap Ayuritico. It can be really bad. I think the thing to compare it to best is Merlot. It's kind of similar to Merlot in a lot of ways, in its flavor profile, in its structure, in its general kind of characteristics. And if you think about what cheap Merlot tastes like, it can be really bad, and a little more well-made Merlot can be stunning, right? It can really open your eyes, and then you can even go, to kind of like collector level Merlot, and same could be said for Ayuritico. Does it taste like funky Cab Franc? I don't think, you mean cheap? I'm not sure what you mean by it. This, or are you talking about, Karina, let me know what you mean. Okay, Alexis, ignore that I ever said that. Oh, cured meats can definitely bring out metallic flavors. That's a super great point. Back to Michael and Molly, I don't know what y'all are eating right now, but charcuterie definitely brings out that kind of iron thing that I was talking about. It can bring out that metallic flavor. So perhaps that's why. Yay, so good with lamb, right? It's so good with lamb. That amount of acidity is just like perfect. Absolutely. That's why it's so great with gyros. It's just like absolutely meant for that. Yeah. Yay. I'm so glad. Oh, you want to agree with your taste buds. I would not necessarily go to Barnyard Funk personally. For me, Barnyard Funk is a special place in the wine lexicon for wines that, like, I don't know, that I never want to drink again. I almost swore. I'm sorry. I almost swore, guys. But I won't say that, like, I think, Karina, for me at least, and again, this is subjective, right? But I think for me, there's a very big separation between what I'm smelling and what I'm tasting. So I would say like, I'm all for like, this is hella funky when I smell it, but then when I'm tasting it, not so much. So. Okay, great. Yay. I'm glad you like it. Yeah. What was the grape that had tannins described as donut from a previous class? Oh, yeah. So Cab is the donut one, Brad. Cab Sauv is the donut wine. It's called that because it has tannins at the front and at the finish, and Merlot kind of comes in the middle and to the end. And I would say that this is like, this is, I think it's a little more Merlot, like, because I think at the first it's like, oh, it's just like light and acidic. But and if for any of you, some of you are, giving me lots of awesome feedback, but I'm not hearing from all of the people watching. So if you're one of the people watching and you're not piping in, first of all, that's absolutely always okay. But if you are smelling it and you are not enjoying the smell and you think like, what the hell is this? Decanting it or aerating it, you can pour it into a mason jar. You can use your fancy precious aerator, whatever works for you. That will definitely blow off that smell a lot, and it will kind of die down. So Kristen plugged natural class. So it's 2 weeks from today. We're going to do natural versus conventional. Actually, check me on the date. I'm not sure. I shouldn't say that with such a surety. We're going to do natural versus conventional. I've been asked to do natural wine classes a lot for a number of years, and I have struggled with how to structure it because natural wines they're just wines. They're from all over the world, made from all types of grapes. The only thing that kind of they have in common is that they are made in, with kind of low intervention. And so we're going to taste pairs of grapes that night. One pair of white and one pair of red, I believe. I have not solidified the lineup for sure, but we'll taste a natural wine with a conventionally made wine of the same grapes so that you can kind of see that. Karina's a natural wine eye roller. So I'm excited. I think it'll be great. I think it'll be really great to, open your mind. Okay. I'm glad it's 2 weeks from today. Hey, okay, right. The Christina Rosé is natural wine and it's absolutely delicious. If you haven't already signed up for natural versus conventional, I really do think it will be a fantastic time. I think it'll just be really fun. Anytime that we do side-by-sides like that, I think that they're really educational and interesting for people. And I think, I'm going to pick wines that show what natural wines, like why you would ever care about natural wine, but I'm not just going to pick wines that smell like a barnyard. I mean, I'm not just going to go out of my way to pick, wines that taste like Brettanomyces. So, oh my God, Carly, the Comey's your favorite all-time restaurant. Oh my God, that's amazing. Okay, we're coming up on time, and that's like my favorite thing ever. Yeah, it's amazing. I learned so much. That's so wonderful. That's so great. Oh my God. Are you in DC now, or do you live here in Madison? Sorry, guys. I start talking about Comey and I get so excited. You moved in 2015. Oh, that's great. Yeah. I moved back here in 2010. So yeah, Comey is absolutely amazing. If you guys have the chance to travel to DC, when we can travel, I would highly recommend it. You might want to start saving now. So before we leave, I know we're at time. If you guys have lingering questions, shout them out. Now's the time. If you haven't filled out the poll, I would really love to get kind of feedback as to like how much interest there is in summer wine classes. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the support, guys. Does anybody have a favorite that they want to shout out before we end the night? I know that people like favorites. Oh, good, Mari. I'm so glad that people are enjoying these. Oh, thank you guys. Oh, one was a winner. Now two. Oh, threes. Okay, I love it. It's all over the board. I love it. I love it so much. Right, and you never heard of any of them. Yeah, these are not grapes. I guess I didn't say that. These are not grapes that you're going to find other places. They're not grown anywhere else in the world, and they have deep and rich history behind them. So it's so great to see. Yeah. Okay, Alexis, you keep me posted. Oh, Linda, there's somebody in DC. I wonder if they know. Call me. Oh, Karina. Thank you. Thanks for that. I didn't say it at the beginning of class, but I postponed this class because last Saturday felt too raw. I didn't feel like it was, the time to be being giddy about wine. And there was, quite honestly, there was no way for me to talk about these wines and not be giddy. So thank you. Thanks. I just teared up. Oh, great. Well, your son who lives in DC can hit me up for dining recommendations anytime he wants, because I love to talk about that. All right, guys, I am going to go eat tzatziki. I'm so excited. Thank you, guys. You're all so wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and thanks for being so flexible on the reschedule. And come do natural and conventional in 2 weeks. It's gonna be a total blast. Oh, thanks, Carrie. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate all of you. Yay. Oh, we love you too. I love you too, Molly. Bye, everybody. Love you.